Members of organized labor comprising the Nigeria Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress on Tuesday suspended their strike for 5 days. The strike, which commenced on Monday, was called to protest the failure of the federal government to approve new minimum wage by May 31, as well as its failure to reverse the hike in electricity tariff. According to Joe Ajero, the NLC president, the negotiation has returned to the status quo of 494,000 naira and 60,000 naira demands. In the meantime, following the directive of organized labor to suspend its nationwide strike for the next 1 week, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu yesterday directed the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, to within 2 days come up with the cost implications of an affordable, sustainable, and realistic new minimum wage for Nigerian workers. Equally, yesterday, the Senate pledged that the National Minimum Wage Bill will be given an accelerated hearing anytime Tinubu forwards it to the National Assembly for legislative action. But the House of Representatives cautioned the federal government against increasing the minimum wage beyond what the economy could sustain. Joining us now on this show is Professor Theophilus Ndubuaku, member of the NLC TUC Minimum Wage Negotiation Committee. Good morning, Professor Ndubuaku. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning, Dr. Abati. Thank you for having me.
Well, Prof, will it be right to assume that you are on the part of NLC TUC in this negotiation? It's a tripartite committee. We need to establish where you stand. Okay. You are on the side of NLC TUC.
I am a member of the... Yes, NLC, yes, TUC. I'm a member of the tripartite committee representing NLC.
Very good.
And the committee.
Well, Prof, the presidency says it will make another offer beyond 60,000 naira. Punch newspaper was reporting this morning that an insider within NLC has disclosed that NLC is looking at 100,000 naira as a minimum wage. So has NLC done its own calculations? And why is it that we're not hearing the voice of the subnationals in this conversation? And also at this point, the private sector, OPS, has also not spoken up, because I don't assume that the federal government can just unilaterally make an offer to NLC, and NLC is saying they cannot come with 61,000 naira or 63,000 naira. Oh, it's TUC that is saying that. So where is the state of play now that NLC has relaxed, emphasis relaxed, its strike action?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Abati. Yes, you use the right word now, relaxed. Because initially you were saying suspended. I hope you take note of the new lexicon in the labor struggle. Anyway, the issue of 400,000, I don't know where you got that from. But let me, first of all, thank you, Arise News, for, sustaining this, discourse on minimum wage. But before I start, I need to let you know that the global standard for minimum wage is $2. Now, we, on the labor side, we compute, the standard is to compute the minimum wage based on a family of 2 parents and 4 dependents. That's 6 people. Now, if this global standard is $2, that means for a family of 6, you require $12 per day. That amounts to $360 per month. When you multiply $360 by 1,500, you get 540,000. That if you are earning as a family below 540,000 naira, you are living below minimum wage. So now, if somebody is talking about 100,000, oh yes, well, they talk about affordability, availability of fund and all that. But we also need to see the seriousness on the side of government. Dr. Bati, are you seeing any seriousness in terms of the government agreeing that there's a crisis? We have a crisis in our hand, crisis of poverty. When the world is saying that we are poverty capital. It's no more, the issue of poverty capital is no more something I would say, oh, the Western world is giving us a bad name. It is reality, because our own Nigeria Bureau for Statistics, National Bureau for Statistics is involved in computing this. And when you hear 133 million Nigerians are within the multidimensional poverty, something needs to be done. We need to see seriousness in governance. We need to see people just doing things not the way it's been done in the past. You cannot continue to do something the same way and expect different results. So what we are expecting is that there should be some form of emergency measures. Emergency, sensitize the populace. We are in a crisis. We shouldn't be in this crisis. You see, when you have, now that we have raised the level of discourse of minimum wage, it's bringing out a lot of things. And I think that government should be a little more serious. I'm not here to castigate or cast aspersion on any government, but we need an inclusive government that brings in people, Nigerians, and say, oh, Nigerians, please, if you have ideas, bring it up. We need to have emergency situations in the area of agriculture. People are hungry, security, and then we move forward. Not just a government that is secretive. You don't even know. Even in terms of agreements with organized labor, we agreed that we'll be involved in issues like CNG, packaging CNG, programs for CNG and all that. Government has not involved us. Even after we agreed that there should be committees set up for different things, they have gone ahead to do things. As at now, we don't even know what's going on. Is that what you call inclusive governance? So I think that something has to be done. Something has to be done in the area of agriculture. You remember, Dr. Abati, that Malaysia came here to take palm oil many decades ago. Now you also know that in Malaysia, palm oil and rubber, palm fruits, palm trees and rubber are lined on the streets, in villages, in highways, to create opportunity, wealth. Now here what you see is total, lack of concern. We cannot continue to, this is a country that has enormous natural resources. We need to do something, and fast. Because if you are saying 100,000, compare that with 540,000 that an average family needs to live above poverty line. So I don't know where you're getting the figure 100,000, but let them just bring what they have on the table, and then we'll move forward. When they bring it, they will also tell us why they cannot pay and what they are doing to make sure they are able to pull Nigerians out of the poverty, the multidimensional poverty.
All right, so Professor Ndubuaku, I beg your apologies. In the event that in 5 days' time, I don't know how much it is that organized labor is looking for you've moved from 615,000 to 494,000 naira currently, whilst the tripartite committee, the government side of things, have said it's 60,000, even though now the president has assured you that it will be over 60,000 naira. What will make you go back to the industrial strike action in 5 days' time, or what would make you call it off indefinitely, well, at least indefinitely?
You see, I can't jump the gun now. The point here is that we are negotiating. You know that negotiation, you don't fix your mind on something in particular. They come up with issues, and then they say, okay, this is what we can afford, and this is why we can afford it. Oh, let me give you an example. Let me just mention this. The organized private sector is complaining that they cannot pay. But that same organized private sector once told us that the minimum wage, as at now, was 77,000. Now you also know how many drivers will take 60,000, 70,000 as salary, and then even company drivers. Now the truth about it is that government needs to listen to what the organized private sector is saying. What are they saying? They said, look, interest rates are too high, inflation, with the cost of power, taxes, different taxes. They have listed many things that they said are the reasons why they are going down. Now, when the government should tell us what they can do. I mean, if government, talks to them and assures them that some of these things, they will get some relief, then the organized private sector will not become a stumbling block to the payment of a living wage. So these are issues that will come up.
That's why I asked the question,
negotiation.
Professor. That's why I asked the question. These things you've mentioned cannot be sorted or solved in 5 days. So what are the signals that you're looking forward to hearing? The things that you're looking forward to seeing as a way to show that the government is serious about making things better in these areas you talked about. You cannot tackle inflation in 5 days. You cannot improve the conditions of business environments. So what are some of those things beyond the money? Because I know that beyond the money, what you're also asking for is that the economy is vibrant enough for workers to thrive. So what are some of those things?
Yes, we are based. We are saying that the government came and said the subsidy is gone. All right. Now, since subsidy is gone, how much is government making from subsidy? Now, you saw what they did to the naira, from 400 and something to 1,500. How much is government making? There are a lot of things shrouded in secrecy in this country. We need an inclusive government, not a secret society or organization. Open up to us and tell us how much. If you say you are not going to pay, they will come up to tell us how much they want to pay. And we'll ask them, why can't you pay this? And why can't you pay this? And then, because if you are saying that you cannot pay a particular amount, we'll bring you down to the point of your priorities. We'll tell you how much you are budgeting for things that should not be national priority at this time. Don't forget that this minimum wage you are talking about is supposed to put some life into the system. Because when you pay minimum wage, people will be able to buy things, people will be able to spend money, the money will trickle down, Now you also go to some nationals, the state governments. Now these state governments, go and check what FARC is distributing before the subsidy was removed, and sometime. Check what they are collecting now. They will also tell us why they cannot pay, and we tell them, if you cannot pay and you are collecting this amount, what are your priorities? Because we have some funny things going on in this country where every state wants to build an airport, where you are going to build coastal highways, costing trillions of naira. And the roads that you have are not maintained. So, as a matter of fact, it will be difficult for me to now stay here and say, we are going to let them put what they have on the table and why they are putting it on the table. Then we move forward.
Let's get to empiricals right.
Hello?
Can you hear me, Prof? Hello, can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Good. Let's get some empiricals right. Number one.
I'm hearing you.
Number one. Government does not have money. In fact, and that talk about subsidy is gone. Hang on a minute. Let me finish my point, Prof. Sir, please, sir. Government does not have money. That point about subsidy is gone. If you read the ASAP reports currently, should we take a break? Can you hear me, Prof? Can you hear me?
I'm not hearing you well.
I'll go for a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk some more. All right, welcome back. Still the morning show here. We have Professor Theophilus Ndubuaku, member NLC-TUC minimum wage negotiation. Prof, can you hear me properly, sir? Can you hear me very well now?
Oh, sure. I'm hearing you now.
Excellent. Let's go straight to it. Let's get some fundamentals right, Prof. The government doesn't have money. And we're in dire straits as regards spending. We're even spending money we don't have. Let me give you the empiricals. Number one, the ASAP report recently released says that we are still paying subsidy. In fact, it will go up to 5 trillion, which is more than the initial benchmark of last year where we used to pay for subsidy, because currency variations have increased and many other factors. So it's about 5.4 trillion. And with that, there's an increased burden. Also, when you look further, the government now has to take a supplementary budget. In fact, the president told on the National Anthem Day and National Assembly, told the National Assembly that we're bringing a supplementary budget. Probably let's see how much they bring. I don't know, maybe another 4 or 5 trillion there, about 6 trillion. The budget definitely, I think from 26 trillion, we each up to over 30 trillion. 35 trillion, thereabout. Let's see how it pans out. So, but in all of this, we are not making revenue. The revenues are down. That's a dilemma. And that's what I'd like to ask. You were part of those that collected that 500 million for the tripartite committee to go and do research, Prof. What did your research reveal? I'd like to know the report of your research. One, as regards the private sector stakeholders. Number two, as regards the position of families in Nigeria. Number three, as regards the viability of government to be able to pay, or maybe you didn't do that. Number four, also, as regards as the outlook of the economy to be able to pay any set amount for minimum wage.
Yeah. Okay, Rufai, what you are saying, I hope you match this with, or compare this with the priorities that government is setting. Because if you say you don't have money, you are borrowing trillions, and you don't have your priorities right, then it's your problem. You are creating problems for yourself. The truth about it is that all these things these statistics you are reeling out is what you expect government to reel out, and then we will also now confront them, because if they are not, if what we have is not an inclusive government, and labor and even Nigerians are not involved in what they are doing, and then they come up with these things. If you say you are borrowing money to go and build a house in the moon, and then it's your business, you are not carrying the populace along. I just mentioned the case of Malaysia now. What are you telling the people? What are you telling the people? How are you, mobilizing the people to create wealth? That's the issue.
Okay, Prof.
We have Ministry of Science and Technology.
Very well.
On,
I was just setting the empiricals. That's been settled. Yes, we know government has spent recklessly. You can talk about the coastal highway, lack of priority, even the National Assembly having overblast array. So the research you did, what did it show about the case of the family in Nigeria, the private sector stakeholders, the economic viability to be able to pay the money? Yeah.
Yes. You see, the research we did was to find out what was the level of implementation of the 30,000 minimum wage. That was what we did in my committee. The committee was on implementation of the 30,000 minimum wage. But some of the things you are talking about, government has research institutions that should or have information on all these things you are asking. And then we want them to put it on the table. They should, get these facts and put it on the table, and then we will negotiate, we will talk, we will argue, we will ask questions, just like you're asking questions now. If you look at, just recently, they said they were going to buy 200 SUVs for the customs, and yet we have companies in Nigeria that are saying we can produce many CNG vehicles. Let me tell you, recently, a chief executive of a research institute, Federal Institute for Industrial Research, said that they have the technology to convert vehicles, and then she showed me a Corolla vehicle that used 10,000 naira worth of CNG to go to Ibadan, whereas a normal fuel vehicle will use 40,000. And that technology is there. What is government doing? Government agreed with organized labor that they will put CNG vehicles on the road. They will bring in technologies.
Yes, I get the one-liners. I get the zingers in an argument. I'm not looking for zingers here. I'm not looking for the headlines. I'm looking for empiricals. The research you did, what is the outcome? The research was about households. Because the last time you came here, you said it was based on that research. You were able to factor in 615,000. Can you tell us the empirical research about the households? What's the viability of the household? How much do they even spend? What happens in the household? What's the economic viability? What's the viability of the private sector to be able to pay for this? That's just what I want. And you can also add the implementation of the 30,000 that you said was a retrospective research you also did. I just want the empiricals. I want to learn from you, Prof. Sir.
But what I'm trying to tell you is that we had a survey on the implementation of the 30,000 minimum wage of 2018. And we went to the governments to ask them, are you implementing? That was how we found out that some governments are not implementing. We went to the households, how much will you, how much can you use? What is the minimum? And that's how we came up with the information you have, the NSC had to break down what is required for a family of 6 to live, minimally. That's the minimum wage, calculations. And that was how we came up with the 615. Now, I have also broken down to you the fact that based on the global poverty line, that you need minimum of 540,000 for a family of 6 to say they are not living below poverty line. So these are information empiricals you are talking about. Now, so that's what we did. And I'm saying that if government has all the facts, they can get, we couldn't, I mean, what you are asking for is beyond the scope of the 1 week survey we did nationwide, and that was done by a committee. Yes, please, go on.
All of that will be resolved at the negotiating table.
Yes.
You do your calculations. The president has asked Minister of Finance to go and do his own calculations too. But let me ask you, when Labour talks about housing, cost of transportation, family of 6, and all that, okay, what are we talking about here really? Is it minimum wage or social security? Because in all of this conversation, as Kingsley Moghalu pointed out, just hold on, Prof. Kingsley Moghalu pointed out, are we talking about productivity? Because the private sector that is part of it will be more concerned about productivity. If I pay you 200,000 naira as minimum wage and you come to work at 11 a.m. when you are supposed to be at your desk by 8 a.m., is anybody talking about that? That's one. Number two, Mr. Bayo Ononuga, one of the President Tinubu's spokespersons, says that labor, organized labor, is playing politics. That this is like a protest from the outcome of the 2023 general election. I asked Bensouka this same question yesterday. What do you also think in that regard?
Well, Dr. Bati, let me take the issue of productivity. The truth about it is that if you cannot even pay your transport to their workplace, how would you not come to work late? That's the truth of the matter. We are talking about productivity here when we talk about minimum wage, living wage. Because, you see, if you cannot sustain your health, if you cannot feed well, what we are talking about is global standard, even based on calculations by the National Bureau for Statistics. So some of the empiricals that Rufai was asking me are there, with the National Bureau for Statistics, and the government has them. So what you are talking about is productivity, yes, but even the organized private sector will tell you, and we insist, it is not the salary they pay to workers that is making them unproductive. What is making them unproductive is high, tariffs, high taxes, high interest rates. These are things that government should look into. Infrastructure, collapse. The private sector needs the government to help them to provide the necessary environment for them to operate maximally. Now, come to talk of what Onanuga was saying, it's unfortunate because what we are talking about is in the public space. Onanuga does not have a different market from you and I. I'm not sure, well, maybe Onanuga will be earning more than 500 and something thousand a month, but ask him, how many of his relations, how many of his dependents who have family of 4 are earning that much? So let him go and get facts about what the global standard of multidimensional poverty line is. So it's not just a question of propaganda. These are facts, and that's why I'm saying that I appreciate the media, especially Arise, for making sure that this issue of this imbroglio, minimum wage, has brought to the fore the discourse on the multidimensional poverty in this country. 133 million people below poverty line. How many are we? So let Onanuga tell the world that we are playing politics with poverty among 133 million population of Nigeria. That is politics, is it? So I don't understand, but I think also that some of these media, people who speak for government should be very cautious when they say things that look ridiculous. Because this is an age of communication. Whatever he says is heard all over the world. How can he say a country that is a poverty capital of the world is playing politics with minimum wage that is the lowest in Africa or in the world itself?
Prof.
One of the lowest. So that's my comment on that on now, Nanduga.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Theophilus Ndubuaku, for joining us on the morning show.